All right, hi Tammy. We're gonna just show you how we would be able to do a stand pivot transfer with Bryce. Here at school we use the Hoyer, but we're not gonna use that at home. So I'm just gonna show you how you would do the transfer and how we arrange both people. So I use the gate belt and we're just gonna put that down low on Mrs. Gray here. So it's gonna go down and we're gonna tighten that. You know on Bryce that you wanna put it right underneath his bottom because it's gonna slip. When you use the gate belt, it goes through the teeth first. So through the teeth part of the belt, you're gonna tighten that snug. And then what I would recommend at home is to have two people available because when you do the transfer, you're gonna want somebody to be able to support Bryce at his shoulders as you're doing the transfer itself. So what we're gonna do first is just align the stander. I have all of the brakes on, and if you can just zoom in, the brakes are these black things. So if you kick them off, when they're upright and straight across, the brakes are not on, and you can see that they'll move. When you push it down is when it locks it. So I just step on it with my foot, kind of like you do with his wheelchair brakes. So just make sure that all four of the brakes are on, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. And then I have taken off these side supports here because it's gonna make your transfer easier. So I slipped this one out from the side of the hip guide, and then this one came off from the chest support. And then I also move just the strapping out of the way, kind of like you do on the wheelchair. So nothing different than what you would do on his chair. So when we're ready to do the transfer, this is just gonna be a regular transfer like you do from the wheelchair to the bed or anywhere else you might be going in the house. So you're gonna come in and we're gonna go ahead and grab the belt. We're gonna go ahead and stand up. And then we're gonna just turn with Bryce. And then he's gonna sit, and when I sit him, and obviously I'm not holding Mrs. Gray up right now, but when you sit with him, you wanna think about putting his back kind of towards that backrest here. So I'm gonna position Mrs. Gray so that her back's resting there. Now once you get Bryce here, you're gonna have somebody from behind just guiding his shoulders. One person's gonna support at the shoulders and the other's just gonna bring legs up and over. And you're gonna go ahead and have to just make sure that we're not hitting this part here. The person behind is gonna hold the shoulders while we get all the strapping on. It's just like your wheelchair where you wanna first do your pelvic strap, your waist strap, except these are all Velcro, and honestly, Tammy, these are a pain sometimes because they stick on each other. So this one here, and I might have you come to the front. This one just wraps through, and it's gonna hook, and then it's gonna come back on itself. So that's your pelvic strap. That's like the seat belt on the wheelchair. The next thing that you're gonna do is gonna be this chest support, and it's just gonna go around. And then what we have here is just a little loop. So it's looping through. And again, the Velcro sometimes gets stuck on itself, and then this comes back across, and then it hooks onto the other side. So now that you've got those two supports in place, you're gonna put in these guides. So this is called the hip guide, and I'll have you come over here. Your second helper is still supporting at the head and the trunk while you do this, but there's a little hole here that this is gonna go into. It's gonna slide in, and it's just gonna sit right here, and then you can just tighten it where you want it. When Bryce is standing up in the stander, when we have him elevated, he likes to push off to this left side. So I would make sure that his hips are scooted all the way to the right side. We don't ever take the hip guide out on the right, it's always in place. So when you transfer him over and you have that helper, make sure you scoot his hips to the right, and then this one's gonna be placed. So you've got your hip guide in place, and then the next thing you're gonna do is I call it just the lateral chest support. And then that also just slides in like that hip guide did. So this is gonna come in, and then you wanna make it so it's like flush against his side. You can still get a finger in there, but you want that to be pretty snug because that's giving a lot of support as we go to move. So you've got him, basically right now, Bryce is secure, and we've been using this pillow around like right side of his neck. So this is kind of how we've been positioning this to help. The one thing that I did was that this is gonna come down for the tray, and I should have put that down before I put the chest support on. So at this point, basically, his upper body is all secure. That second helper that you have I'm not gonna make Mrs. Gray put this on.
You can, I mean, if you
So
want to
this is gonna
yeah.
kind of be like this, basically, so that he has that protection for the head. And then just make sure he has his tennis shoes on when he does this. I did add some non-skid backing to these foot plates so that his feet don't slide. So you're gonna wanna bend your knees when you come down to do this because you have to make sure to get his feet back far enough. So you're just gonna give that support under the knee and then bend that knee so that the foot is as flat as we can get. Yes, the foot plates are angled down. I know it looks a little funky and people looking at it are gonna be like, why are the foot plates pointed down? That's because we don't have his orthotics on and we know that his feet are in that flexed position. So these you wanna have on nice and snug. When you have shoes on, there's not gonna be this gap here, but you want his foot to be as far back as you can get it. And that kind of depends on his tone and what time of day you're doing a stander, and make sure that both of those are snug. So I'll go ahead and snug that one up. We'll get that one on. You've got all of the straps in place now, so the last thing to do is this knee support. Now Mrs. Gray is a lot taller than Bryce, so what we can do is we can loosen this and make sure that this is pushed all the way back. For Bryce, once you get that down, you might need to adjust the positioning here as far as making sure that this is just seated against his knee. I don't want it to be pushing hard, just make sure that it's at the knee. And then these just tighten down. And there are two of them because they're independent of each other. So at this point, you've got all of your strapping in place. You just wanna just kind of do a check over. Make sure that that right hip is scooted over, safety straps on the waist, safety strap at the chest. You've got 2 laterals on the sides of the chest and 2 laterals on the hips. And then we're ready to go ahead and put tray down. When we do this with Bryce, we do have one person behind kind of bringing the arms up and then the other person bringing the tray down. There is a couple of movement options on this tray. One is that this one comes kind of up and down, and then there's a little knob underneath of the tray, and it's this black one. It will fall out on occasion, so be aware of that. But if you loosen that, it allows you to move the tray back and closer to him. When he's sitting, you're gonna want it back a little bit, and then we move it into place. Okay, so now that we are in the stander, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna have you come over here. This is your pump handle to start raising, and if it's uncomfortable, personally. Okay, so what we're doing is we're looking here. This is telling us the seat angle, and we've been at about 50. The highest we've gone is about 60, but for now, Tammy, I just want you to focus on increasing time before we push up on the seat angle. And all you're gonna do is you're just gonna push forward here, and I just watch to make sure that as you're going up, you wanna just keep an eye on Bryce's position, make sure he's still getting nice support, and make sure those feet are staying where they're supposed to. So once you've got him up to 50, we're not gonna go all the way up today. You're just gonna check and make sure, am I at the right angle? Yep, I'm at 50. And then kind of walk around and make sure he's comfortable. You're gonna have to make an adjustment at the tray when he stands. So you're just gonna slide it forward and you're gonna tighten with the knob on the bottom. And then I'm gonna be sending home just a log that will say the date, the number of minutes that he was up, and then the angle that you were at, and then just a little comment. So was Bryce happy? Was he upset? Was there a lot of tone? And that's just what we've been tracking as far as how we've been using it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video, and then we'll do a video to show you how to get out too. So let's go ahead and stop that.